The story begins with Masato, exhausted from work. He constantly worked overtime at the office, came home tired every day, and collapsed on the couch, wondering if this routine would define his next 40 years. In his second year of work, he worked as an on-site engineer at a corporation, where heavy workload forced him to work unpaid overtime. At his job, strict rules control the employees, and the relaxed boss only makes the atmosphere worse. One by one, employees collapse from exhaustion, and when they end up in the hospital, the boss gets angry and reduces their salary. Outside of work, Masato faces judgment because he does not have a better job. Although it was the only company that hired him, over time he gets used to the hardships. But his sense of purpose gradually disappears. He finds solace in caring for plants and watering them a little every day. He picked up this gardening hobby in his first year at the company during the toughest moments, which now gives him a reason to keep going. One night, completely exhausted after work, he watches a TV commercial where happy farmers are harvesting crops. They inspire him to start a small garden at home to feel the same joy. And now he notices that one of his fruits is almost ripe. He notices a cherry tomato with unusual spots and wonders what it tastes like. He was worried that it might be diseased and harm his other plants. He impulsively pushes some tomato into his mouth and swallows. He freezes and wonders why he did that. Thoughts disappear, consciousness dims. Panic about whether it was toxic or gave an instant effect. Before you can understand, everything goes dark. When he opens his eyes, he finds himself in a forest, not at home or in a hospital. To the right, he saw a floating status window with his full name, new job, various stats, a list of skills, and a note that he ate the fruit of reincarnation. All his stats at level 5 look strange and unbalanced. And his job changed from office worker to farmer, so he was confused about this. Until he realizes that he was reborn because of that automaton. Although at first he thinks it might be a hallucination from the fruit. To check if it is real, he approaches a tree and hits his head against it, but instead of waking up, he only feels pain and thinks it is a coincidence. So he starts banging his head against other trees again and again, and after severe pain, finally agrees that it is reality. He really was reborn. But he suddenly stops. A tiny girl appears before him, no bigger than a fist, smiling. He falls to the ground in shock and wonders if she is a doll, while she happily flies toward him. She says she can cast the tree of reincarnation on him before he can respond, and a robotic voice in his head says he does not have time to object, confirming that the little girl is a dryhead and now a companion. At that moment, he suddenly feels a surge of strength, as if energy has been restored, and confused, quickly checks the status window, surprised by what he sees. All his attributes have quadrupled, and he felt changes in his body. Realizing that the numbers are real and not for show, he understood that this was not a dream or hallucination, but a true reincarnation. And at that moment, the druidess called him the Tree of Rebirth and asked him to follow her. He said to her embarrassedly that he was not like that at all and that he had only eaten a fruit. That looked like a sickly tomato. But before he could realize what was happening, more dryads came because they heard the first dryads and felt that the trees of reincarnation were directed at him. They gathered around excitedly to greet him, while his system was sending a stream of messages confirming that he had reached all the dryads in your purchase. Checking the status window, Masato was surprised to see that his stats were displayed as exponents because they were too large, and he realized that he had tamed exactly 112 dryads. Each multiplied their 5 main characteristics by 4, so the numbers got out of control. He tried to count it in his head, but decided there was no point in explaining these calculations, because neither he nor anyone else would probably understand this, trying to figure it all out. Masato decided to consider it a hallucination for now and check his status window for clues about other people who might help. He noticed a flying skill which, given his incredibly high intelligence, could send him into space if he used it. He only had 10 mana points, and spending them all could kill him. I see they are looking for a safer approach, and a dragon appeared in the sky. And feeling danger, he quickly retreated to the side. Barely avoided an attack that scattered the dryads, who seemed unharmed. Still trying to understand what was happening, Masato saw the dragon attacking him. But the chipped claws showed that during the treacherous attack, it was more injured than he was. This gave him the idea to use the dragon to fly to human civilization. First, he needed to find a way to negotiate. When the dragon opened its mouth to gather fire for the attack, Masato wondered if he could resist, checked his skills, and found 2, barrier and spell break. This gave him confidence that he could stop the dragon's breath attack with his current powers. Having no other choice, Masato used Spell Break on the dragon, which roared in surprise. And the dry head translated her shocked, incredible, amazing Masato that she could understand the dragon. He asked us so that she could translate for him, but something unexpected happened. He mastered a new skill of automatic language translation, and it is worth learning about this capability. Masato heard the dragoness complaining that the human canceled her breath attack. Now he clearly understood her words and realized that he could speak with her directly. He asked if she could hear and understand him, which shocked the dragoness, who could not believe that the human spoke her language. At that moment, Masato realized that the translation ability worked both ways, so he quickly told the dragon that he had a request. He asked her to lift him into the sky. Knowing that he was not good at negotiating, he hoped that his direct request, supported by their ability to communicate, would convince her. When she admitted that she could understand him, the dragon refused to fulfill the request of a mere mortal. She mockingly received Masato's plea, read another fire breath attack, and calmly stopped it with a spell that breaks enchantments. He called her noble and insisted that she help those in need, but she completely ignored him, leaving no room for negotiation. Forcing Masato to stop searching for a skill that could oppose the dragon, he thought to use force for two reasons. At first, he was defending himself. And even if it failed, firstly, the dragon attacked first. Secondly, if ignored, the city targeted could be in danger, and meanwhile he reviewed his skills. He found nano fire, but worried that it would be so. His formidable power could burn the dragon or the forest. Usually he preferred soft spells, but in this difficult moment there was no choice. He applied nano fire without hesitation. He released a huge pillar of fire that pierced the clouds and almost hit the dragon. Showing the stunning power of the spell despite its simple name, the dragon remained stunned. Masato's plan used the mythical last atomic hell. Masato insisted that he only used nano flame because he did not have enough MP for such a powerful spell. But the dragon called him dishonest. Hearing this, Nanofire still saw the scale of the last atomic hell created without spells. Technique that Masato did not even know. To feel resistance in this, he had to use magic of the level of a complex spell. He noticed her fear and decided to take advantage of this misunderstanding. She sobbed that such power, not related to fire, could destroy the world. Instead of former pride, she now became timid and panicked because of his magic. Masato noticed that the dragon spoke too politely, and although she was huge and threatening, she now seemed pitiful. But as long as she could fly, that was enough. He asked again if she used skyward, and she willingly agreed to help. He advised her not to overexert herself, especially before a long trip. She brushed off his concern, writing that she could cross the continent in half a day, and Sato felt relieved when he realized her speed matched that of a passenger plane. And he climbed onto her back, holding on tightly as she took off into the air. As she rose, he accidentally tore off one of her scales, lost his grip, and with a loud crash fell to the ground, and the dragon did not notice until she heard the impact. She quickly apologized for not noticing earlier. Although Masato, thanks to improved characteristics, did not feel pain, it was luck in a difficult situation, and the dragon apologized for its fragile scale. Masato asked her to stop the bowing so as not to hit the neighboring dryers. He was more interested in the scale itself. She assured him that everything was fine because it was already loose and ready to fall. As an apology, she offered him the scale and said that it was very valuable on human markets, which Masato gladly accepted, planning to sell it later. Then call the skill and the activated storage. Open the portal that absorbed the scale and registered it as Crimson Dragon Scale, and order him to say Item Box to access the saved items or retrieve them. Finally, Masato and the dragon left the forest. He was sitting on her back, and they were flying through the sky, looking into the distance, noticing farms on the outskirts and surveying the area. At that moment, he felt that in this new world, he could have the peaceful life he had always dreamed of. For some reason which he could not name, this feeling was strong. And Sim saw the city and asked the dragon to hover over it. She refused, saying it was not wise, and suggested landing near the city gates. They did so. Masato thanked her for the ride, and she said she was glad to help and would help him any time in the future. Hearing this, Masato was glad, but he no longer had the opportunity to contact her. So one dryad offered to stay with the dragon, and when he asked if she could still communicate with others from afar, she confirmed that she could. He was satisfied and allowed her to stay, and the other dryads followed him, all green and joyful. After dismounting, Masato and the Dryads checked the connection, and the dragon confirmed that she had received the message. Then she said she would return home and asked Masato to contact her if needed, to whom he promised later to turn for her help. When she left, he turned toward the nearest city and headed there, with hundreds of Dryads trailing behind him. Meanwhile, the dragoness reached her cave, and at the entrance asked a Dryad to watch as she tried something, inspired by Masato's high flight. It began to glow, its claws turning into human hands, and she transformed into a young girl. Instead of asking to dry it, her magic of transformation into a human appeared. Masato noticed that the city guards were panicking and packing their things after the dragons left, because they thought they would die. Understanding their misunderstanding, he called out and asked if he could enter the city, calming them down. But they asked him for his family crest. This embarrassed him because he asked what a crest was. When he clarified, it turned out he was not a nobleman. The guards were surprised because, due to his language and how he repelled the dragon, they considered him a noble knight, and Masato thought that his manner of speaking probably sounded noble. Then he realized that this was probably his automatic language translation skill. He transforms his polite Japanese into the noble language of this world. When he took a casual tone, the guards agreed that he now sounded like an ordinary person. It seemed strange, but better than if it had been mistakenly taken as an ability. He assured them that the dragon was not a great threat. He explained that he scared it off with one hostile shot, so the dragon gave him a ride. They shocked the guards by using a dragon as transportation and by scaring it with a simple nano fire. They did not understand again, and when Masato asked once more how to get to the city, they gave him a ring. They explained that it was a magical tracking device that could be removed after registration and obtaining a certificate at the guild. Since it was required for public order and misado, compare it to GPS and thank them. Before entering, he thought that others saw small winged dolls around him, but the guards looked puzzled and asked what he meant. The Dryads smiled, and Masato realized they were invisible to others. He entered the city and immediately went to the guild, as the guards advised, to get a certificate. Walking the streets, he quickly found the agricultural guild. He was surprised that such a place was found immediately, especially for a person who once worked to exhaustion, and feeling that a peaceful life awaited him, he went inside, where a friendly young woman greeted him and asked how she could help. When Masato asked if certificates were issued here, she confirmed and explained that after issuing the card, she would need his ring. Then she asked if he really wanted to join the agricultural guild, and Masato confirmed his choice. Thinking that it might help his new life, she gave him a form to fill in his details. He waited for his document, sighed with relief that they did not ask for an address, and soon she called his full name, handing him the membership card of the Agrarian Guild. Then asked with interest which part of Shindo Masato was his surname. She thought that Shindo was the surname, and Masato was the name, so Masato. He admitted that he came from a place with different naming rules. She asked if that was strange, and decided to call him Masato. As a Japanese, he was a little embarrassed when addressed by his first name without formalities. Before that, she reminded him about another registration fee in the Guild of 1,000 and said that he had to pay it before she could take his ring and issue the card. Masato nodded and promised to gather the money soon. Then he asked where he could sell the dragon scale that Hamuari shed. He elicited a surprised look from the girl, who wondered how he got such a rare item, and explained that the Adventurers Guild, which actually acts as a pawnshop, deals with such items. And when he inquired about the average monthly expenses per person, she replied that they were about 30,000 and assured him that the dragon scale would easily cover the registration fee. Masato thought that if another currency was equal to 1 yen, he would have enough money. At the Adventurers Guild, the staff were frightened upon seeing the dragon scale, and they had to measure how much dragon was in it to appraise it, and discovered that it contained 0.5 grams per milliliter. The stunning result indicated that it originated from an ancient dragon, as the dragon level corresponded to its rank, leaving a feeling of stunned amazement that the impressive blazing crimson dragon turned out to be ancient. Focusing more on the measurement, he noticed that 0.5 grams per milliliter seemed small, but the staff loudly corrected him and emphasized that it was a huge amount, assessing the scale at 8.1 million ether. After that, Masato returned to the Agricultural Guild to pay the registration fee and discuss the purchase of land. The registrar, understanding his intention, asked him to remove his ring and confirmed that they were offering to buy land, but advised him not to rush into buying agricultural land, explaining that rent costs 54,000 of another currency per acre per year. Since the purchase cost 900,000 per acre, he was advised to start with renting, as it was much cheaper. Masato liked the idea of renting land because he could try different crops on a large field without spending much. If he told the receptionist that he would choose the rental option, and she asked if he was ready to select a location, showing him a booklet with available plots of land suitable for this season. He chose tomatoes and soybeans, which he had grown in elementary school. He initially paid 220,000 to others. Thanked the girl for her help, but she asked if he was a traveler and warned that working the land alone would be difficult. Masato assured her that he had help, even if the Dryads did not understand what he meant. And after settling matters and renting an apartment, you looked out the window and planned to start working on the farm tomorrow. In just half a day, his dream of life began to take shape. The next morning, he visited the rented land far from the city, but conveniently located on the outskirts, so that in case of need, he could call for help. When the dragon arrived, he did not see her until he used his enhanced vision. Then he noticed her, and they greeted each other. And she thanked him for the Dryad invisibility spell, which allowed her to approach the city unnoticed. Calming Masato by saying that everything worked, she asked if he could reply to her immediately. He flew over the field and cast a light spell to mark lines on it before landing. Then he asked the dragon to mix the soil in certain places with a special material they had prepared, and she gladly agreed. She used her storage magic and released a cloud of black misty dust over the fields. Masato asked her last night to make wood ash for him by setting fire to a distant grassy field. Later, when it was dried, it was confirmed to be the best sheet of ash they had seen, and Masato wondered why it was so good. Dry explained that dragon manure is rich in nutrients and fertilizes the crops, which produced an effect Masato did not expect. So he stretched out his hands to start making furrows, but when the dragon asked if furrows are heavy patterns on human fields, suggesting to do this, he realized that her claws could help. She quickly ran her claws over the field, creating perfect furrows and misado. I was surprised that such a large creature performs delicate work so precisely. She must have high dexterity. I feel happy that I met her in this world. Then he asked her to make an even number of furrows before the lunch break, and after working in the field, the dragon suggested they properly get acquainted. She was tired of being called just a dragon, or only by her appearance. And Miss Otto realized that she was a burning crimson dragon because she kept her scales. She confirmed this but admitted that she was ashamed of her name and would like a better one, while Masada found it strange to introduce oneself if they didn't like their name. He jokingly suggested Duraman because it sounded similar to dragon, but she quickly refused, explaining that she was a girl and wanted to shorten her name. This surprised Masato, who did not know her gender, so he mentally went through girl names. Masato finally suggested the name Himawari, and relief and joy appeared on the dragon's face. He found the name unusual, but he liked it, so he then asked what her name was. So Masato politely introduced himself and asked her to call him Masato, and she understood this. They continued working in the field, and when planting, he suddenly noticed that his dexterity level had become infinite. Interested in whether this meant he could throw seeds perfectly, he tested it and was surprised. Each grain fell lively across the entire field. The Dryads praised his seed throwing and gave him the highest score. He, alert and stunned, asked how he managed to throw like that. She noticed something strange in the trajectory of the seed, and looking closely, saw that each seed was buried exactly 20 centimeters deep. He could not believe that Masato was so skillful, and although he felt a slight guilt for underestimating her, he switched and asked everyone to start watering. The Dryads suggested calling for rain and explained that they could do it, so Masato entrusted them with this task. And they began to pray. Soon a cloud appeared over the field. The rain began. Masato noticed its predictability, thought about other mysterious abilities he might find, and applied the skill of evaluation to the cloud. It turned out to be a rain cloud blessed by the Dryads, a unique cloud that appeared only when the Dryads prayed, and the water from it enriched the soil and promoted plant growth. An impressively mistaken notion that such a powerful farming ability existed. He thanked him, Wary, and the Dryads, and told the dragon to return home. And I am concerned about greed, I say to call her at any time. Leaving Masada, now only the harvest remains, because planting and watering are completed. Farming was going well, and Masada felt that he could live here peacefully. But he missed Japanese cuisine, even when cooking a simple dish. Although in this world there were no such important ingredients as soy sauce, vinegar, miso, mirin, and rice. He thought about growing soy for soy sauce and miso, and realized that he could immediately prepare the dish. The next day in the mountains, Masato quickly noticed an attacking boar, stunned it, and then anxiously scolded, reminding her that he had asked for a mountain of wild greens, not animals. But she was embarrassed and noticed that he still easily handled the boars because they were there to gather ingredients. For chawanmushi, a savory egg pudding, he already had eggs, but the dish required mountain vegetables and mushrooms, so he anxiously asked him to bring them there. He wondered if boar could improve the dish by preserving it in a storage skill. When something in the neighboring tree caught his attention, he looked and recognized Japanese wild parsley and oyster mushrooms. He felt that he had started very well, but then Himnoeri excitedly called him. She said that she found tasty mushrooms. Masato immediately recognized them as poisonous fly agarics. It contains toxic substances such as ibotenic acid and muscimol. Leaving him momentarily speechless, she urgently warned her about their danger. Himnoeri, unflinching, told Masato not to worry. It reminded him of his high endurance level and the unexpectedly bright taste of the mushroom, which made Masato hesitate. Recalling that the fly agaric was poisonous, it is a plant acid. It enhanced umami and was said to be 10 times stronger than glutamic acid, which some mushroom enthusiasts tasted and then spat out. If its toxicity were ignored, it would be a wonderful ingredient. So Masato decided to gather some. Himnoeri agreed that it was a smart plan and dryly added that she found something tasty, which prompted Masato to use a family citrus with a strong aroma. Perfect for both chewing and as a soft filling, he gathered everything he needed. He told him about his anxiety as they were returning. She wanted to try his dish, and Masato thought it was a good idea. Returning to the city, they forgot about her invisibility spell, which scared the guards, and after calming the situation, Masato started cooking. Ingredients laid out: processed wild boar meat, oyster mushrooms, skillfully prepared seasoning, market eggs, citrus and wild parsley for chawanmushi. He beat the eggs and prepared broth 3 times as much, and used alchemy to turn any parts of the double channel into seasoning by dissolving them in the broth water. He whisked the broth with eggs in a bowl and popped bubbles on the surface to smooth the texture. Then he put the meat and mushrooms in a cup and poured the egg mixture up to 80%. Since there were no steamers here, he took a frying pan, poured water into it, placed the cups inside, and heated them. Not having foil, he used barrier magic instead. After 10 minutes, he took it off the heat, tilted the cups, and checked if the liquid had become clear, which meant the dish was ready. Then place a slice of citrus on the edge of each cup. Completion of preparing chawanmushi. Before going out to the balcony to tell him everything was ready, he wondered how she would eat such a small portion. Because of its size, it seemed difficult, but Himnoeri asked him to wait. Then she brightly lit up and transformed into a little human girl using magic. Gently leaning on the balcony, she asked Masato how her human form looked. Leaving him stunned but relieved, they could now eat together. "I am worried that I look proud." And they sat at the table where Masato served the dish. Both received thanks before the meal, although he did not let her take a bite. They asked her to first squeeze citrus juice on top to enhance the flavor, and did so before trying. The dish was delicious, and Masato praised her for the perfect texture. Parsley and mushrooms added texture, and Himnoeri enjoyed the soft, rich flavor. Masato had tears in his eyes. He realized that this was exactly the taste he had been longing for. But when he ate the mushroom, he froze from the incredible intensity of the umami flavor. He finally understood why mushroom enthusiasts sought out poisonous species. He quickly used detoxification magic to neutralize the poison, and was grateful that thanks to magic, he could safely enjoy the taste in this world. And noticed that the poison still did not affect him. He will be worried, but will continue eating and cheerfully talking for the rest of the meal. After the shared meal, Himnoeri praised Masato's cooking skills. And when he asked us if she wanted more, she gladly said yes. Then he asked to set aside a portion for later, and this pleased her, so Masato promised to do so next time. Seeing her off, he realized that with a little ingenuity, he could enjoy food even more in this world. The next day, having free time, Masato went to look at shop windows and noticed a steak sealer, which was later used. But due to the high price, he decided that making them himself from the harvest of his fields would be cheaper. And it was then that Carol from the Agricultural Guild appeared. He thanked her for the earlier help and asked why she was here, to which Carol replied that she was buying things for her home garden. Since it was a day off at the guild, she offered to show him around the shop as a guild worker, caring about the customer's success. And Masato gladly agreed, which pleased Carol. Masato felt that there were many surprises and unknowns to explore in this world, and Carol showed him magical tools. Includes a barrier to prevent seed penetration to block weeds and a sprayer for convenient watering. But he told her that for the dry period, a blessing of rain would be enough. He said he could control rain clouds because others had not seen dryads. He needed an explanation and left Carol stunned by his unexpected reliability. Then he noticed a familiar can of liquid fertilizer and was surprised that it existed in a city without factories, where ammonia production for fertilizers should not exist. They were curious about how it was made. Carol overheard, explaining that liquid fertilizers dropped as loot in dungeons, and this surprised the soldier with the idea of profit. And added that growth stimulants, which cost 5,000 other per bottle, accelerated crop ripening by 5 days per acre. But when Masato looked disappointed, she asked what was wrong. He admitted that he had hoped for an instant harvesting effect like in video games, and when Carol asked for clarification, he explained. But she noted that enhancers were used only during the harvest season, and Masato found out that the costs exceeded the small benefit. Carol added that only rich farmers could profit from them. Since Masato had dragon scales, she suggested that he collect items in the dungeon himself. The idea flashes, and later in the dungeon, he improved the sword by adding bonuses to sharpness and durability. He knew that with 10 MP, he could only perform physical attacks. But I thought about how much effort it takes to obtain growth stimulants, and that's when someone came, asking why he brought her to the dungeon, because he thought he could handle it alone. But Masato said he would appreciate it if she hunted everything she found to protect him. He also asked her to join as a contact person for recommendations, and this offended her because she thought he saw her differently. Her draconic presence scared off monsters and made Masato's life easier, who then said the adventure would deepen, and if monsters did not appear, the Himari plan would be unavoidable. He opened the status window and activated a skill, thinking that an elevator in the dungeon would be useful. This caused the system to confirm construction as the dungeon began to tremble. Masato and Himawari saw something rising from the ground, and an elevator appeared with wires stretching to the ceiling. And when its doors opened, Masato's masterful architectural skill somehow worked. This left him worried, stunned, and confused, while Masato indifferently remarked that he had built the elevator. It prompted her to grumble that he changes the dungeon's structure too easily. They descended by elevator and encountered enemies. On the ATAF floor, their path was blocked by a huge bear monster. When Masato asked if it was stronger than him, I know he answered no. Seeing that his chance to win calmly was only 1 in 100, Masato quickly aimed at the neck, killed him instantly, and a card fell from him. Himawari, confused, asked what happened and what Masato did. He replied that he only hit the weak spot, then examined the card. A wavering summon card for teleportation with the magic of a great repository. They asked if only bears drop it. I explained that I know monsters of the same level can also give similar items. When Masato wondered if it was about a crocodile-like monster, she did not have time to answer because he had already moved. He precisely cut the crocodile's neck, and she complained about his speed and the item that fell, a small vinyl greenhouse perfect for growing plants. Masatov surprised by its usefulness, as if it could grow an alkyl decay mushroom. Assuming they were mushrooms, Himawari explained it. He cured the white and age disease, one of the 5 deadly epidemics. It turned out that her mother had it, and she only had 300 years left, which destroyed her hope. She added that cultivating alkyl calm mushrooms could save her mother, exciting Masato about their cultivation. Although he still needed a growth stimulator, he wondered if the mushrooms had spores. Himawari said they were ordinary, but hard to grow, and Masato recalled baselin and bacteria, the deadliest poison on Earth. They continued moving, and even a fast mimic could not match Masato. Dropping the duplication map, which copied items from the dungeon, he saw that all the monsters on the floor were defeated, but the growth accelerator was missing. They moved deeper into the dangers of the 81st floor. This sin encounters a snake monster and quickly turns into sashimi. Dropped a familiar thing that shocked Masato. A growth accelerator that can speed up 3 months of growth and change the duration of periods through breeding. Unlike the store version, which allows instant harvesting in the fields. Then I am a very spotted glass lizard. This is organic glass that shines brightly from the ceiling, and when Masato asked about its powers, she explained that it dropped explosive glass shards of the shell. It made him suspect a trap, because fighting with a sword against a glass creature worried him. But since the lizard had already noticed them, Masato had to fight and easily cut it into pieces that fell, and this strangely relieved him. Henry Murray boasted about his swords, sharpness, and strength. When the monster dropped the glass slipper, the Cinderella clinic could forever transform whoever wore it into a beautiful woman. Masato noted that the glass slipper would turn a man into a beautiful woman, not a handsome man. Considering this pointless and deciding to go home, I was cautious and asked if they would go further, because leading them seemed pointless, to which Masato explained that he was not seriously inclined towards adventures. And they parted near the dungeon, and I cautiously asked him to contact her when he would be in the vinyl house. And later in the city, Masato decided to sell unnecessary things, for example a glass slipper. When he came to the Adventurers Guild, the same employee who dealt with his dragon scale recognized him. Examining the shoe and assuming that it might be the legendary instant sparkle of Cinderella, she went away to inspect it, and soon Masato heard screams from behind. The staff returned to confirm that it was a first-class version of the item, capable of influencing relations between the nobility and royal persons. She asked where he found it. He said it was from the dungeon, 81st floor, and when she insisted on details, she used a magical item to detect lies, checked if he was telling the truth, and surprised Masato, who did not expect her to doubt him. Just then a man with an eye patch appeared, because he overheard about the 81st floor. Asking if Masato was the one who returned from the dungeon and knew about the strange new structure there. Masato asked if they meant the elevator, and explained that he built it because carrying moments between floors was too troublesome. He stunned them with his casual reasoning, although they considered his actions outrageous. And when he saw it, he hesitated whether it should be removed. Instead, the guild proposed to open it to the public and pay him an annual license fee of 3 million. Although Masato was not against them using it, he doubted whether the guild could afford it. To ask them to transfer the fee and payment for the glass slipper through the agricultural guild. He sighed, not believing how everything turned out. With increasing wealth, he went shopping. He checks his status window, now he is more balanced. With 25,500 health points and 4,500 mana points. He saw with relief that his MP had risen, so he would not run out of magic during farming. Later in the fields, he thought about how to use the growth accelerator. And the dryads suggested mixing it well and taught him to pour it into rain clouds, which to his surprise had bays. He poured without asking why. Full clouds floated over the fields. When the rain came, the accelerator and seedlings grew incredibly fast, as if in a time-lapse video. The plants grew so tall that they needed support, so Masato applied gravity control because there were no support poles. The plants ripened and produced almost ripe tomatoes, soybeans, and edamame, which impressed Masato, so he decided to harvest half of the crop. And a list of the most urgent assistance they willingly provided. While he was buying supports for the tomatoes, he assigned several dryads to support the plants during installation. The dryads worked diligently to help Masato because the growth enhancer needed 4 days to recharge. So he suggested waiting to harvest the rest of the crop. And after 4 days, they harvested all the tomatoes and soybeans. Returning to his apartment, Masato checked his storage box and found 20 tons of tomatoes, 892 kilograms of edamame, and 984 kilograms of soybeans. Wasting no time, he applied the appraisal skill, examined them, and was shocked to learn that the tomatoes were eternal. All the soybeans, called Divine Black Eyes, contained a powerful anti-aging ingredient, had excellent taste, and when consumed weekly at 100 grams, stopped aging, doubled vision, and granted the skill of telescopic sight. Like the tomatoes, they had first-class taste and left Sato stunned, not understanding what was happening. When he tasted a raw tomato, its wonderful flavor did not allow him to stop and confirmed its quality. And he understood that the item box kept them fresh, so he decided to keep a few for himself and sell the rest at the guild. At the guild, Masato showed his goods for sale and impressed Carol with the huge harvest. He couldn't believe that a newcomer had gathered so much in 2 weeks, and he attributed half of his success to her for mentioning the dungeon. He showed her the growth accelerator he found, which shortened the growth time by 3 months. Carol was momentarily confused. She didn't understand whether he said minutes or months and decided to ignore it. Instead, they engaged in sorting the harvest. Thanks to her ability to sort with telekinesis, she made the products hover while they were being organized. Masato thought the skill sorted the harvest by quality. Carol was amazed that every item was flawless, without disease or damage. when an old man approached and asked if these were legendary vegetables. Carefully inspecting them, Masato downplayed their craftsmanship, which frightened the old man. He was shaken and demanded to tell how he grew them. Masato calmly said that he used ordinary seeds. Carol noted that she escorted them to him, leading the old man too. It was decided that the legendary fairy with dry eyes should help him, so Masato was left speechless, and the one he brought with dry eyes was even more shocked. He jokingly suggested that dry seemed to help relieve tension. Carol, embarrassed, said that dry reminded her of fairy tales. The old man doubted that legendary fairies would be friendly to people, not suspecting that the dryads stood right nearby. Masato considered it logical, attributing the quality of the harvest to the dry climate and the beneficial rains that improved it. The rain increased the nutrient content in the plants beyond the norm. Carol said that Masado's products required a special seller. He was confused until she explained that exclusive sellers separately sell quality goods so that prices are fair. Noticing that his tomatoes, thanks to a unique effect, could prolong life, it is explained here that Masadavis crops with such properties could not be sold together with ordinary goods. And hiring an exclusive merchant for a considerable fee would protect him from dangerous people, keeping his identity secret. Masato agreed, confident in his abilities, but still asked the dryads to warn him about suspicious people near his house, and one dryad promised that they would handle it. And the old man said that he informed the guild master to secure a reliable exclusive trader. Just then a man in a hood named Cole appeared, and Carol immediately called him the perfect choice. He introduced himself as a traveling merchant with a skill called mystification. Cole assured Masato that he could be trusted. When Masato asked about mystification, Carol said it was the ability to transform into fog and move freely. He noticed that Cole's younger sister had a rare power that a criminal group was hunting. He captured several members, awakened his mystification skill, broke free from his fog, and raised the alarm at their base. Masato, impressed by the powerful story, wanted to help and recover. They called it possession of valuable items, which traders appreciate. He greeted Cole and gave him a card as a token of gratitude, which shocked Cole. Carol excitedly recognized it as the Waverna circulation card. The elder said there were only 5 such cards, relics of an ancient civilization. And Cole agreed that it was the main means of transportation, usually used only during a national crisis. This prompted Sato to ask if it was true, and Carol warned that its use could make him famous in history. They signed contracts and said goodbye to Cole to keep him safe. And Masato sent a dry head to accompany him. Set the profit distribution at 75% for Masato, 20% for Cole, and 5% for the guild, which is fair considering Cole's risks. Before that, Masato asked Carol to sell him wheat seeds. Carol agreed, but She was surprised because wheat was out of season, and although she pointed this out, Masato had his own ideas. He goes to his field to grow what he wants using growth stimulants. I really want tempura and plan to gather resources with the dryads. Call Hamawari to discuss clearing the field for alcaldica mushrooms. At first, she had to take care of the withered crops, and the dryads told him to trust their rain. They confused Masato until they pushed him to look, calling rain clouds that dissolve dead plants on contact, revealing yet another dry ability. This rain decomposed dead plants when they hit the soil, and no compost was needed for the next planting. Amazing Masato, who praised the dryads. Soon Jamie Worry came and asked if he had cleaned the field, to push him to choose a place for the greenhouse using the item. The small package trembled and turned into a greenhouse, which Masato considered convenient, inviting him inside and asking if she had brought alcaldic mushroom spores. She pointed to the neighboring stone and said the spores were scattered there. This confused Masato because he saw nothing until she asked him to look closely and showed the spores stuck to the stone. Masato activated the microscope skill and was amazed to see that tiny alkyl decommissioned spores covered the stone. He realized they were everywhere, so he asked if he should worry or just cultivate them as they were, and she confirmed that was correct. When he entered the greenhouse, the system prompted to confirm the use of spores for growing the plant, and he agreed without hesitation, placing the stone in the center. The system instructed him to wait outside while the greenhouse adjusted the conditions, and soon everything inside changed. The weeds that had grown and died indicated to Masato that the greenhouse was now filled with poisonous gas at high temperature and pressure, which Chemwari is recognized as ideal for alcaldic mushrooms. However, Maz Adam had to enter to apply the growth stimulator, and although I know this, you are probably sure that he will be fine. He doubted her confidence and checked the situation by throwing a metal drum near the entrance. He watched it flatten and immediately knelt down due to the intense heat. Kemwari agreed that no one would survive inside. Masato thought about what to do next. And Hamewari suggested using the self-healing skill, noting that due to lack of oxygen, he would have to hold his breath. He activated autocare from his skill list to survive and block HP to avoid losing all health points. I am worried, watch when he enters, warn him to be careful. And when Masada entered, he was overwhelmed by dizziness as the gas suppressed his body's defense against intense heat and pressure. The environment was different from outside. This made him think whether it was the support skills and high endurance that kept him and what would have happened without any of them. There was no time because he could only hold his breath for a short time. He used his microscope skills, instantly found the spores and rushed to the stone. When he opened the growth enhancer, he noticed more spores nearby. It seemed they had been present from the very beginning. He decided to cultivate these too. After some time, Masato safely exited the greenhouse and felt relieved to have gotten out. He asked him where and how long it would take for the alcoholica mushrooms to grow and start fruiting. To which she replied 1 year and 3 months. But Masato, using the growth stimulator, realized there were still 4 cycles left. This meant the mushrooms would be ready in 16 days. They confused Himawari until Masato explained that their growth stimulators would significantly speed up the process. Allowing them to heal her mother faster, Himawari was very happy about this. Who said she gathered the rest of the medicinal ingredients, and Masato swore to create a special remedy to help her mother. Meanwhile, in a deep forest cave, a weak-horned woman coughed weakly. Her sickly appearance and horns identified her as the mother of Himawari, and shortly after that, Himawari and Masato set off to a village near the coldest sea in the world. Masato thanked her because the frost would help him in the next task. Preparing tempura, after finishing the dungeon with wheat planting, he decided to gather ingredients for tempura while waiting for the alcaldaka mushrooms. But looking down, he saw the sea under the ice and jumped, and the anxiety returned. He clenched his fist and struck the ice, immediately breaking its thick layer. I know that the anxiety was stunned, and could not believe that the legendary unbreakable sea ice cracked for the first time. Masato asked why she brought him to such a place. She worried and simply replied that there were many seafood there. No one noticed how a tentacle quietly sneaked up behind Masato. And Himawari noticed that no one had fished in that sea before. Before Himawari could finish, Masato disappeared. He found himself underwater, grabbed by a tentacle. His face paled as he looked at the giant squid beneath him. The huge eye of the squid stared intently. Quickly reacting, he used flight magic and broke free from the water, the tentacle still holding him. I am worried about this and suspect that a monster is hiding below. And then a creature appeared. Masato noticed that it was a real prey, and having come this far, decided to pull it out. Using flight magic, he began to pull the huge squid out of the water. The squid resisted, striking with other tentacles. Masato broke free and dodged its attacks. Remembering that the squid can be stunned by a blow to the base of the head. Not sure if the tactic was correct, Masato still pulled the creature towards himself. The giant squid was helpless in the air. With one strong blow to the base of the head, slightly above the eye, he immediately knocked it unconscious. Without hesitation, Masato used storage magic and hit it. I am worried it was confused and shot. Because the squid was only half dead, and the storage magic worked only on fully dead creatures. Masato explained that his storage considered the paralyzed squid dead because the concept of death was vague. Himawari was surprised that even the rules of storage magic were broken by Masato. She felt invisible next to him. Masato did not understand what she meant, and instead chose to use the magic of flight to dive underwater because it had worked before. He dived into the depths of the seas, surrounded by numerous sea creatures, schools of smelt and horse mackerel swimming nearby as he headed to grab a few. Suddenly, a large fish appeared behind him, scattering smaller fish in fear, and to his surprise, it was a tuna. Seizing the moment, Masato drew his sword from the inventory and swam towards it. With a precise move, he struck and immediately caught the tuna. Planning to catch more, he noticed a shrimp and wanted shrimp tempura, so he decided to catch a few. After some time, Masato surfaced with a generous catch. She was impressed. Masato agreed and asked her to give him a ride to the market so the fish could be processed there. At the harbor market, the seller refused to process the fish, citing loyalty to his fishing boats. Masato nodded and decided to try elsewhere. The store manager stopped him and asked to see more of the catch. Masato showed the tuna he had caught, and both the manager and his employee were impressed by how meaty and fresh it was. The manager explained that they only purchase from trusted clients, but Masato's tuna exceeded their usual stock. He offered to process it himself if Masato allowed them to keep part of the fillet. Masato asked if they were sure. The manager suggested calculating the commission depending on the amount, and Masato thanked him. The manager thought that Masato had found a great fishing spot. Masato said that he also caught another fish there and asked if they could process it. He opened his box with things and pulled out a tentacle of a giant squid. The manager was stunned by its size. Masato wondered if it would be difficult to process it. The manager asked to carefully check his storage method. The manager noticed that the giant squid had ears and its eyes were bluish. He recognized it as a kraken and was surprised that Masato had such a creature. Masato calmly explained that he had cut it off and paralyzed it. The manager doubted whether Masato was even human. Masato was embarrassed by the strong reaction. I cautiously explained that the kraken was a legendary squid. The manager thought it could be reprocessed and insisted that Masato allow them to handle it because the kraken was a rare delicacy. In a few hours, the tuna, crayfish, smelt, and mackerel were processed, with the last two processed for free, and Masato thanked them. But the sellers were even more grateful. Masato said he had another task, and now. He carefully watched the time to get to the nearest sea. Himawari was puzzled. But he stopped by the embankment. Masato chose a spot, and Himawari asked what he was doing. He resisted the seawater by applying an advanced alkene spell. I was worried and not surprised, thinking Masato was doing something crazy again. Suddenly, dust rose from the ocean and formed a white round ball. I was concerned and asked if it was salt, and Misadu confirmed and questioned my concern. I was suspicious that he resorted to alchemy to save on salt. Masato said he was just trying not to carry cash. Himawari scolded him for using alchemy so recklessly and complained that he always overdid the ingredients. Then Mesa remembered something and asked her to help with a task. Emma Worry asked what he needed, and Misada asked her to gather hops for the project. Soon I noticed that he returned from the fields with the hops he had asked for earlier. She showed him the hops and asked about his plans. Knowing Sato, she thought it was another crazy plan. Masato admitted that she was right. He planned to make soy sauce, wheat flour, and beer. He had already bought yeast at the bakery and had most of the ingredients for tempura and homemade beer. Seeing his expression, Himawari realized he was up to something again and impatiently said she wanted to try everything, but Masato asked to wait because he was not finished yet. He pulled out a duplication card from the dungeon. I became curious and worried, so I asked what he was going to duplicate. Masato used the card to copy the greenhouse. When she asked what he was going to grow, he did not answer directly. He found something. He added a drop of growth stimulator, and immediately, where Masato was buried, a huge plant grew. I was surprised and noticed that he asked what it was, and Masato calmly said it was for soy sauce. She was shocked that this could become a seasoning. Masato said he still needed to take a few steps to complete it. Then he, worried, asked him to join him in the city. They entered the realtor's office, and the young woman asked what they needed. Masato said he wants an empty plot. She gave him a catalog. I was curious and a little nervous, so I asked why he needed it. Masato explained that he plans to build a factory from all the collected ingredients. Masato was glad to use his skilled architectural abilities again. After the viewing, he chose a plot of land measuring 3.2 million acres. The women asked if he needed a loan or an agreement with a guarantor and said that the item could be taken as collateral. Due to a lack of money, Masato decided to apply for a loan. Masato showed the card and received a thick, cute service booklet. The women gasped upon seeing it. She was stunned to be holding a wyvern circulation map, one of only 5 in the world, and could not believe that Masato had used such a rare item to buy land. He explained that this was his only option, but she did not expect it to be so valuable. Meanwhile, Himawari and nearby Dry appeared on the phase. Masato noticed that he was worried when he saw the strangely proud one, and it puzzled him. The Wayman group was confused. They did not know how to securely store the card. Then Masato and Himawari headed to the next stop. They arrived at a borrowed plot, and Himawari asked how Masato makes seasoning. Visada raised his palm, activated his masterful architectural skill, and a bright light shone in the city center. He imagined a factory where on the first floor wheat was dried and hulled, and on the second floor flour was ground. The third for soy sauce production, and the fourth for beer production. He was grateful for his research in food production, which helped him during his job search after graduation. He remembers the factory equipment and processed parts very clearly. Instantly, a building appeared on the empty plot. I am worried, trying to stay calm, thinking that she is used to Masato's turbulent abilities, but the appearance of the new one made her reorganize. She shouted in confusion, pointing and asking what it was. They entered and Masato saw that each floor exactly matched his vision. The preparation was complete, but he was still confused. I asked like an alarm if this is what heat means. Masato confirmed and said that they would start 2 days after the harvest, asking her to return to the field, then to see something special. I am still confused and know that he was asking what he meant. 2 days later, Masato gave Hilda's mushrooms the 3rd dose of growth stimulants. I was shocked by their enormous sizes. Masato noticed that they are now visible to Nektai. I am worried and hope that her mother can wait a little longer. Then they inspect the wheat field. Masato asked the dryads to sprinkle growth stimulants, and they gladly did it. The wheat grew quickly and looked strong. Masato was surprised that it was already ready for harvest. When he looked closer, he saw that the wheat was excellent. It has a very low glycemic index and carbohydrates that are absorbed without insulin, so it does not cause blood sugar spikes, which made it safe for diabetics and improved the taste. Masato was impressed by the weak but noticeable qualities. I know that he acknowledged the help of dryads. Masato thanked them for their efforts, and they set off for the factory. Himori was glad to finally use that strange machine she had seen on the 1st floor. The wheat was dried and threshed. I was worried and surprised and asked if it was enough just to pour it into the machine. Masato said it was automatic, but she did not understand what that word meant. He checked if everything was all right with it and said it was time to clean everything up. He then stored the wheat, which amounted to 7.3 tons. He expected only 5 tons per acre. Himori assumed the excess was caused by the dryads. In great despair, Masato began processing the ingredients, laying them out on the respective floors. While the machines worked, Himori was washing and, puzzled, asked if they would really just wait until everything finished automatically. Masato confirmed. And Himori's assumption turned out to be correct. She doubted whether they were really cooking food. To make it clear, Masato explained the role of each floor. The 4th is intended for fermentation and beer filtration. The 3rd for soy sauce production with a burgundy tank and compressor. The 2nd for grinding flour on roller mills. The 1st for drying and cleaning wheat. The machines automatically dry it and remove the husks. I am worried that the scale of the operation is too large. She thought they were just cooking food, but Masato built unique equipment. He doubted whether she was focused only on entertainment, advising her not to worry about the process and to wait for delicious results. He promised that everything would be delicious. Masato noticed that the malt for the soy sauce was ready. The girls rejoiced, imagining delicious dishes. But their enthusiasm faded when Masato said it would take a year for the malt to mature. Seeing their disappointment, he told them about a skill that could solve the waiting time problem. He applied a skill called temporal adjustment to the bottle of soy sauce with malt, and the liquid turned black. The girls asked in shock if it had gone bad. Masato calmly explained that the black color is normal for aged soy sauce. I am worried it is understandable, but I was amazed that such a powerful spell was used just to age food. She considered it absurd because time adjustment usually shifted it only by a few minutes, not a whole year. Masato still doubted whether that limitation really worked because his method worked well. The dryads were left speechless, and he wondered if his actions were really that shocking. I know he said that with such power, he no longer needed growth stimulants. Masato explained the difference. Growth stimulants enhance plant growth, while time adjustment only speeds up time and can cause plants to wither if used incorrectly. I am afraid I will be noticed when I divide the mixture into 2 containers. He said there was 1 step left, and since the other portion was also tasty, he postponed it a bit. He heated the raw soy sauce and brought it to readiness. I am anxiety, and the dry advertisement rushed forward, but Miss Otto stopped them. Noting another preparation and an external task, he went to the wasteland, casually applied advanced alchemy, and bottles appeared from the ground. Ivari saw so much that I asked where they came from. Masato said the bottles were for the product of the 4th floor. He applied time adjustment to the water in the fermentation vats, made young beer, then cooled it and adjusted it again. After filtration and bottling, the beer was ready. I am worried, said Amis, that she had never seen such a drink. Masato assured her that it was wonderful and worth waiting for. He asked the others to help bring the wheat flour from the 2nd floor. The time has come to cook. Jamie Worry, already in an apron, said she wants to closely observe the secret of the famous cooking art of Masato. Masato and Himmler Worry started preparing snacks together. Masato mixed eggs, cold water, and flour to prepare the dough, then covered fresh seafood and store-bought sweet potatoes. When the oil was ready, he fried the ingredients and splashed the dough into the oil to form crispy decorative figures. He also cooked edamame. The sashimi was already sliced, so it was freely arranged on the plates, and Masato made the final touch. Spraying an intermediary for perfumes, a special mist that allows fairies to dine with humans. Lunch was ready. I am worried. The labyrinth has never seen such food before. Everyone eagerly sat down at the table to eat. Their first bites were enough. Masato Fada sashimi was the best he had ever eaten. I was cautious and noticed that the seasoning perfectly matched the fish fillets. Calling it mold extract, Masato corrected her, saying it was soy sauce. He tasted the Kraken meat and was surprised at how delicious it was, and said that the sashimi and tempura were incredible. Himawari was impressed. She did not expect such an amazing dish. Masato opened the last special day. He passed the bottle of beer, 2 clear mugs, and boiled in mame. I was anxious, unfamiliar with the foamy drink, and even dry adloped was embarrassed. Masato proudly explained that the drink was beer, an alcohol that perfectly matched Adam Mommy. I was worried and quietly took a sip. Her eyes widened from the pleasant taste. It was different from anything she had felt before, and had a perfect taste and aroma. Masato noted its smooth surface. He thanked her for gathering the hops. I was concerned and decided to gather more, and Masato was grateful when he started growing them. They tasted adamant, rich, and aromatic. I know he couldn't stop eating, and said it melted in her mouth. Masato was delighted, never imagining that after reincarnation into this world, he could enjoy food and beer so much. He was glad he built a factory in, and prepared everything, really wanting to drink more beer in this life. A little tipsy, he apologized to Himewari for interrupting the evening earlier. Staggering, he smoothly fell onto the bed and covered himself with a blanket. Jamie Worry was stunned, and the Dryads gave him the highest score. Masato, a former corporate worker, never. I dreamed of such a life, but now felt true happiness. I realized I was trying to awaken it. The next morning, thanks to his high vitality, Masato woke up refreshed, without a hangover. The magic of this world seemed convenient to him. He noticed that Mavari had disappeared. Some dryhead said that she left last night, after an unsuccessful attempt to wake Masato, who was unconscious. Himawari saw the dirty dishes, and to thank him for the food, used her cleaning skill to make everything shine. Enthralled, she flew off to look for more jumps. Hearing this from the dry message, Masato understood and wondered if he had overdone it, and thereby disturbed the dragon. But seeing her enthusiasm and impeccable kitchen, he realized that she truly loved food, and seeing his obvious love for beer and soy sauce, Masato was confident that the world would share her enthusiasm. He decided to sell part of the goods to the guild, along with his harvest. At the guild, he was met coldly. Carol invited him inside, but spoke sternly that she needed to talk to him. Masato felt awkward under Carol's threatening gaze and agreed without protest. Then he cautiously asked what she wanted to talk about. Instead of answering directly, Carol showed a huge pile of gold coins. Explained that they came from the Adventurers Guild to sell Cinderella's slipper. In total, it amounted to 27, 4 million others, and even Masato was impressed. Carol admitted that she had never seen such wealth and asked about the single item. Masato explained that this shoe was desired by nobles and kings. To maintain anonymity, he organized the sale through the Agrarian Guild with the help of the Adventurers Guild. He avoided nobles because of their difficulties. The guild's confidentiality reassured him. Carol understood and admitted that she was surprised, but pleased that Masato trusted the guild. Then he said that he came to sell the harvest. Carol, shocked that he already had another harvest, sent him to the warehouse and called the appraiser. The old appraiser came to inspect Masato's harvests. As expected, he was impressed by the wheat suitable for diabetics and called it an outstanding find. He skeptically asked Carol if she was selling ordinary seeds, and A was irritated. Gerald insisted that there were no such special seeds on the market. Masato hoped they would not start arguing. The old man decided that dryads exist and help Masato. The dryads were shocked that their secret became known, and Masato quietly smiled. Carol confirmed that the new harvest would be sold only through selected merchants. For nobles with diabetes, this wheat was revolutionary. The old man confidently told Carol a story before Cole arrived. Then Masato asked them to give Cole something when he came. He was still taking out cards as before, saying that Cole could use them freely. Carol and the old man were stunned. They received 9 legendary, fragile cards for free passage. The old man immediately ordered Carol to lock them in the guild's most secure vault. Masato indifferently said that he could get such cards from the dungeon anytime. Seeing that they were tense, he lightened the mood by showing new products, spices, and alcohol from his harvest. He invited them to try the products to find out if they could be sold. The old man was surprised that Masato was making new goods. People were glad to try them first, which lifted their spirits, and Masato felt relieved. In the canteen, he showed the seasoning and suggested trying it with the fish fillet. Carol considered the aroma of the seasoning unique. It combined sweet and spicy notes. The old man recognized this and appreciated it as the special Masato soy sauce is rich in super powerful flavonoids that restore DNA and help prevent cancer. Carol realized that this could be sold as healthy food. The old man was not surprised by Masato's achievement. Although Masato himself did not know about the beneficial properties of the soy sauce, he insisted that they try it. Carol and the old man tasted the fish fillet with soy sauce and chewed quietly. Carol was impressed. She never thought sashimi could be so delicious. The best way was to offset the salty taste with lemon or olive oil. She said the soy sauce would become a big hit. The old man agreed and called it revolutionary. Masato was delighted that soy sauce and sashimi worked so well in this world. The old man noticed the squid and asked about it. Masato indifferently said that it was a kraken from the long sea because he was shocked that the catastrophic monster turned out to be food. Masato noticed that it was tasty and planned to catch more. The old man was stunned that Masato treated such an animal as simple ingredients. Carol tried the squid and praised its taste. The old man felt happy to have tasted such a rare dish in his life. Masato was satisfied with the success of the soy sauce. And then they served beer. Praise revealed it as an anti-aging beer. Rich in ultrapolyphenols that slow aging, up to 633 daily alcohol reduction harms, makes it healthier, and consumption with one's 20s extends life by 1.5 times. The old man regretted not finding this earlier. Masato suggested a spell for detox if drinking affected their work. They drank beer, and the old man was impressed by its softness, which he had not tried before. Carol also enjoyed drinking truly cold drinks. Masato recalled these world-lacked refrigerators. Carol felt as if she had dined in a luxury restaurant and thanked him. The old man, as an appraiser, felt privileged. Masato promised to increase production. When Carol asked about the origin of soy sauce, he said, "It was explained that it is obtained from wheat, soy, kaji, and fermented microorganisms." The old man eagerly inquired whether these microorganisms were a new species discovered by Masato. Carol was impressed by his knowledge of biology and thought he was unparalleled in all fields. Masato said they had overestimated him. Carol was unsure whether to share such valuable details, and Masato said it did not bother him, and he did not seek to claim them for himself. He asked when Carl would return, and Carol said in 3 weeks. Masato promised to provide more wheat, soy sauce, and beer for the next batch, and asked to buy more wheat and soy seeds. Having additional funds, he decided to repay the land loan early. At the realtor's office, the girl was surprised to see him. When he explained that he came to pay, she cried. She was delighted and begged him to return the shaky card, as if holding her dress, and Masato doubted that it was really that difficult. The factory land was now his. The dry one asked what he should do next. Masato said he would plant new seeds and needed their help. The dry one agreed. He prepared the soil, and with his skill, evenly scattered the seeds across the entire field. The devices were impressed by Masato's performance. He took out a familiar jar. The dryads knew it was time to apply growth stimulants. They voluntarily took on the task. And from their clouds poured the enhancing solution. Masato said that was enough, and since it was late, he suggested going home for dinner. The dryads were glad that evening had come, but Masato was still heading home. He bought eggs, garlic, tomatoes, and wheat flour at the market, so preparing dinner today would be easy. At home, he made a dry gesture for him to be silent. He entered the living room and saw Himari, who was sleeping on the sofa. The dragon was sound asleep. Seeing her so calm, Masato realized he had given her too many tasks. He hit him, recalling his exhausting corporate job. He did not want to create a harsh environment like those toxic workplaces. He asked the dry head to quietly settle in the kitchen so as not to wake her. Masato said he would prepare tomato paste without water, she asked restrainedly and interestedly what it was, and he told her to watch how he works. He mixed flour with salt, then added water, eggs, and olive oil and stirred thoroughly. What usually took 2 hours, he sped up by managing time, cut the dough, and the noodles were ready instantly. Using advanced alchemy, he created a pot. Add crushed garlic, whole tomatoes, and noodles directly into it. Water was not needed because the moisture of the ingredients cooked the noodles, giving them a tomato flavor. I woke up in anxiety. Look, Masato is preparing. And she greeted him with a bright smile, and Masato, surprised by her sudden awakening, thought she would be tired. She said that the appetizing smell woke her up. Himawari explained that she feels good after a short sleep and added that dragons rest only once a year. With relief, Masato admitted that he was too worried. The same dinner was almost over, and the girls were asked to sit down. She was delighted when she saw a plate of pasta in front of her. Masato added cheese, herbs, and a spirit mediator spray to the dish. Everyone tried it, and Himawari said that the tomato noodles were delicious. Masato explained that his special method made noodles with a perfect texture. He noticed that this world lacks pressure cookers and thought about selling them. They ate well, and Masato suggested boiling edamame and drinking beer. I am worried. To thank him for the delicious food from his farm. Masato remembered something and asked her to check the farm with him. He said the mushrooms are almost ready for harvest. Gamevari visited the Masato's farm to look at the mushrooms. But he was not there. Hearing his voice, she realized that he was sincere. Stuck in the second greenhouse, where the koji had overgrown too much. She freed him and asked what he was doing, and Masato thanked her for the rescue and explained that he was preparing more soy sauce. He apologized for the inconvenience and showed her the mushrooms. I noticed that he looked satisfied. Masato asked if they could be moved, and she replied that they could, because they only need special conditions during growth. Masato felt relieved, noticing that the mushrooms had finally matured, although this had worried him before, and his eyes shone as he looked. The dark mushroom on Owl Hill is a key ingredient for treating certain diseases. I am there where one gently picked one looks a little sad. She thanked Masato and explained that one mushroom is enough to prepare a powerful potion, and Masato decided to use the rest of the mushrooms efficiently. He asked how she would make the medicine. I listened warily. She explained that she would mix the prepared ingredients in exact proportions and do everything else. Masato imagined a witch stirring a cauldron, but instead I am anxiety in gloves. Use a mortar and pestle and work with laboratory equipment. She looked like a scientist, carefully watching the test tube while working. Masato was surprised because it was completely different from what he had imagined. Seeing her skillful work, he remembered about the time warrior's talent lies in the fact that she easily forgets that she was a dragon. He thought that if he took his experiments at the university more seriously, he could get a good job. If the foul smell snapped Masato out of his thoughts, it meant danger. He quickly applied broad-spectrum detoxification to clear the area. The gas was deadly to humans and twice as strong as typical hazardous gas. Trembling slightly, Masato anxiously asked him to be careful. She apologized, noting the dragon's rumium about it. Masato considered it too risky, so he used his masterful architectural skill and built a fume hood to eliminate harmful gases and microorganisms in the air. He ordered her to work inside him. I know that he apologized again and agreed. Masato relaxed because his high stats protected him, but safety was still important. After 3 hours, he and Mary finished preparing medicine for her mother. She asked Masato for a drink from the factory. He gave her beer, pouring it into a mug. I worry that she drank it immediately. He looked satisfied. Masato was not surprised, deciding that beer for a dragon was like an energy drink. Masato asked if she was going to her mother now. She confirmed that the invited Masato would join her to meet her mother, who grew mushrooms in another world. Masato agreed. He wanted to explore more places. He asked to be picked up. Masato and he became worried and quickly left. She soon arrived in the mountains where her sick mother lived. The area was icy, but thanks to Masato's high vitality, he felt comfortable. Traveling alone, he could have gotten lost without his skills. During the walk, he noticed glowing trees, one of which shone with rainbow colors. Assessing it, he learned that it was game mummy fur, a globe that appeared when a person with over 1,000 numbers approached, created from ancient dragon genes and which reproduced faster than ordinary trees. Masato was impressed that it was created by an ancient dragon, and Himawari said that it was created by her mother, and it was a failed attempt to replace the rare mushroom Owl Hill Doki. Her mother conducted many experiments. showing us other failures, such as a bush resembling coral and strange bees. Masato realized that Maori's mother did not expect death, but continued experimenting. "I am anxious," I was called, and they reached the cave. She said that her mother was inside when they entered the room. Masato was shocked to see a woman lying on a cot. It was Jamie Worry's mother. She moved and opened her eyes when she heard his voice. Slowly she sat up and groped with her hand to touch something. Worried, she took her mother's hand and said she had returned after a long absence. The mother smiled warmly, but Masato noticed that her eyes were unfocused and understood that the disease of the white mages had stolen her sight. Jemuvari was embarrassed, as the last time she saw her mother she was in the form of a dragon. Her mother explained that she had transformed into human form to make a specific device smaller. Masato used a pristle, discovering this device. It was an ancient dragon artifact for cleansing magic, which also cured the disease of white mages and extended the dragon's life by 10 years. Masato fought for 10 years, which seems short for dragons. Himawari's mother said that was the best she could do. I gently squeezed my mother's hand, and when I was asked what was happening, she confessed that she had created a miraculous medicine to cure her. Her mother paused, then said in shock. She sweetly asked how Himawari did it, and said she was worried because she followed the theory. Then introduced Masato as the one who grew the dark mushroom al-hill. Masato apologized for not introducing himself earlier and said he was a farmer. I worry that my mother was surprised that a human farmer could grow such a rare mushroom. Gentle Worry agreed that it was strange, but insisted that her mother take the medicine first. Her mother heard the seriousness in the voice, took the bottle, opened it, and drank. Immediately after swallowing, she felt better, color returned to her eyes, and she said she could see again. She quickly grabbed the syringe, took blood from her hand, and shook it to check the result. The negative test confirmed that she had fully recovered. Masato was impressed by the rapid effect of the medicine. I know that he firmly embraced her mother, cried with joy, and her mother apologized for troubling her, gently wiping her tears. Masato sighed deeply with relief. Himawari's mother looked at him, sincerely thanked him, and apologized for doubting, saying that he had actually saved her life, and Masato replied that he was glad to help. She was glad to see again. She realized that he tames dryads, which is almost impossible. Aware of his extraordinary abilities, she found it incredible that someone could do such things, unable to appreciate Masato's immense magical power or how he grew the mushroom. She wondered how her daughter met such a person, explaining it was difficult and required caution. Masato said that after many events he got lost in the forest and accidentally met her, and Gim and Worry took him to the city, and thus a friendship without conflicts arose between them. Her mother understood that this happy meeting had saved her life. Remembering that Sato said he was a farmer, she asked again, and he confirmed it. She said she had the perfect gift for him and asked him to follow her outside. Stepping outside, Masato and Himawari froze with wide-open eyes and mouths, looking at the sushi island floating in the sky. Masato asked what it was. Mother Inawari explained that it was a floating continent. It was his reward for cultivating the dark mushroom of Saviaki Hill, and she insisted that he accept it. Himawari asked her mother if she had ever had something similar. Masato also inquired how to use it. Himawari's mother ordered him to step onto the floating patch of land. Masato jumped onto it. She then told him to direct his magic into it, and when he opened the status window, he saw that he had 10,500 participants. And he decided to immediately pour 5,000 into the land. A magical circle shone under his feet. The floating continent began to tremble. Suddenly it expanded significantly. Masato did not see its edges, stood stunned and silent, doubted a little if he was okay, confirmed that he was, but admitted that he had used too much magic and wondered if he had accidentally buried the mountain in a cave. Himawari's mother reassured him that everything was fine because he would be able to check later. Masato jumped off the continent, and the land below shrank again in his field of view. She explained that the floating continent inside grew by adding magic 1 acre per magic point, and the external dimensions did not change, regardless of how large its interior seemed. She added that the land is perfect for farming and for improving Sato's skills. He asked if it was really possible to accept such a powerful gift. Mother Worry said she created it to grow a rare mushroom that the owl kept, but after recovering, she no longer needed it and decided to give it to Masato. Masato thanked her. But she had another gift. As a reward, she gave him a seat from the world tree, perfect for one who had stained the dryads. The dryads rejoiced and asked Masato to take care of it. Masato was surprised to receive such an unusual thing. Mama Himawari explained the close connection of the world tree with the dryads. These are fruits that enhance their growth and strength. Masada did not fully understand what she meant by greater heights, but they decided to plant a seed with a growth stimulator. Immediately a small sprout appeared, which shocked him and Mother Worry. She said the tree would need 1,000 years to bear fruit. I was worried, but proudly noted that Masato used the growth stimulator for only 3 months. Masato, embarrassed by her pride, said they still had a long way to go, but promised to care for the world tree for the dryers. He thanked him or his mother for her generosity. She said it was nothing, as no gift could repay him for saving her life. I was worried, and the dryads rejoiced because of the world tree. Masato could not believe that he had received such an incredible gift. It was perfect for his dream of growing various crops. He eagerly awaited the future, but was anxious about it. Explain this to Carol next time we buy seeds. After a few days, his anxieties made Masato's mother help him calm down and focus. He was told to imagine his desired island. Masato closed his eyes and concentrated deeply. Slowly, something appeared before him. I am Vari, and the dryads watched attentively. After a moment, a small island appeared. The worried mother, confirmed that it worked. Masato can create islands invisible from outside the continent. Things made there, outside the island, returned to normal size and did not experience its unique spatial effects. Mother Himawari explained that the island's land can transform into anything Masato imagines. Suddenly, black liquid burst out from the island like a fountain. I know he was afraid something went wrong, but Masato assured her that everything was exactly as he intended because he imagined an oil field. I was worried because I did not know about the oil fields. Masato stretched out his hand and applied advanced alchemy to return. Pour some black liquid into transparent plastic bottles. Himawari was surprised how the dark liquid turned into transparent containers. Masato explained that these were plastic bottles. A worried mother was surprised that Masato's first creation on the island was a container and noticed his habit of choosing the unexpected. Imori proudly said she was not surprised at all. Masato teased her because she had looked surprised earlier, but was very happy that she managed to make the bottles. Himawari already knew what they were for. Later, Masato visited the 3rd and 4th floors of his factories, applied time manipulation to beer and soy sauce, and announced that everything was ready. I probably know that they will fill the bottles with products, and Masato confirmed, explaining that they need to be packaged for sale. When the oil field was depleted, Masato used the remaining soil of the island to make many glass bottles and asked Hanwari to imagine how he does this in an urban wasteland. I know that he realized that digging such pits in a crowded place would cause problems. During the performance, she became sleepy. She watched as the bottles were filled one after another. Eventually, Masato produced 10,555 bottles of soy sauce and 102,870 bottles of beer. That's about 10,000 servings of soy sauce and 100,000 servings of beer for sale, and Carol realized she couldn't handle it alone. He used a wiper and circulation map to store extra bottles and save space. Masato explained everything to Carol and thanked her for the valuable card. He told her not to call the appraiser and confidently suggested she try the products herself, calling one a seasoning and the other a drink. Carol noticed the unusual container and, having never seen one before, asked what it was made of. Masato explained that it was a plastic bottle and handed her an empty one to look at, and Carol felt its softness and heard the rustle. Masato said it wouldn't break if it fell. Carol noticed its usefulness. Since she could only sell it for coal, she decided to keep it until his return. Masato thanked her for her care. Carol inquired about his next plans. Masato shockingly requested 7 hectares of wheat and 3 hectares of soy. Carol told him to slow down because that was too much for his 1-hectare plot. Masato understood her surprise because she did not yet know what had happened. He said that he had received a special plot of land from an acquaintance. Carol was afraid that he had been deceived, but Masato assured her that this was not the case. He told the details about the floating island. He decided that he now had 50 hectares. Carol just nodded, used to Masato's incomprehensible actions. Masato asked if she really agreed with it. Carol guessed that he had even more land and asked if he needed anything else. Masato asked for 8 hectares each of carrots, potatoes, onions, burdock and taro. Carol wrote down the order. Later, Masato canceled the land lease and got his money back, and could spend less on new seeds. Masato and Himawari stepped onto the floating island. Its huge size from above made them look like tiny ants. I carefully returned with the wood ash that Masato had asked for. The dryads promised to sincerely pray for rain to bless the land. Masato thanked them for the help as Haimori. She flying around, scattered wood ash from her dimensional storage. At the same time, Masato carefully threw seeds with his unique technique. The dryads focused on praying for rain to water the fields. Soon the fields were prepared, but Masato faced a new problem. Now the land was so large that he lacked growth accelerators to cover it. To get more, he would have to go deeper into the dungeon. Masato set out for the dungeon, enhancing his sword with several magical spells. He thanked the dryads for their help. The sword now felt him through the intelligence indicator, but I am alert did not sound. She was hiding in the dungeon elevator. They grumbled about their depth at level 90. Masato, confused, planned to start deeper at level 160. She admitted that in human form she could not handle that level, asked Masato to strengthen her, or said it was better to stay outside, showing her anxiety. Masato searched for the best buff, applied the enhancement in time, and her fear instantly disappeared. And she felt strong when asking about the skill. Masato explained that this enhanced all her abilities. It works even without him nearby, useful in emergencies. I am where I gain confidence. At level 160, I know he noticed how easily they moved forward. But the boss turned out to be a giant octopus. He was not worried about the sinister energy of her tentacles because he doubted she could fight it in her condition. Masato grabbed the sword and rushed forward, cutting the octopus in half, and it disappeared at the moment of death. I know he thanked him for the help and said that she could finally clearly see his movements. Masato was surprised that she was more fascinated by watching him than by the fight itself. I know I explained that she always wanted to see Masato defeat enemies with a single strike. He realized that there are probably monsters much stronger than those he had once shot. Then they noticed the thing the octopus dropped, and to their surprise, it was a laptop with the inscription Super Magic Computer. Masato, stunned, dropped the MacBook because it reminded him of his past life as a corporate slave, and he could not believe that an item from that life appeared in his new one, mumbling, disturbed by the reminder of a second chance. Masato was worried that the appearance of the laptop stunned him and could not fully explain his reaction. But he said that once it was his greatest enemy, he still saw use in it and placed great hopes on it. Deeper in the dungeon appeared a winged figure with flickering eyes and a shining halo. Soon Masato met this humanoid monster named Lucifer from the 9 Divine Trials. Knowing that there should be no humans here, he attacked immediately. As expected, the monster fell from one blow and could not resist. Imawari was surprised that the fight ended so quickly and an item fell from the creature. It was the Imperial Elixir. An elixir that will make the leader of a nation immortal if the leader drinks it. If the rule is merciful, they will live forever. But if the rule is cruel, they will die immediately after exceeding the natural age. The elixir works under any form of government. Learning this, Masato realized that the thing was not for him, because in a country without a single ruler no one could use it. He wondered why he received it, and Haima, worried, did not know what to say. Masato plans to sell the elixir later in the guild. Meanwhile, the dryads seemed to know something about this. The group went deeper into the dungeon, passing a quiet chamber. Masato saw nearby monsters resembling transparent bears, known as killer bears. The group quickly hid, and Masato noticed their transparent forms. Himmelvery explained that these creatures did not have physical bodies. Becomes visible only during attacks, so killing with a single shot is impossible. Masato was grateful for her presence. Her explanation relieved his tension. Trusting the sword, he rushed forward. I, worried and confused, asked where he was heading. Masato dashed through the assassin bears and quickly felled each with a single strike. Seeing the monster fall, Himmelvery impatiently asked how he defeated them. Masato reminded her of the buff he had previously applied to his sword. Himmelvery knew about the buff, but thought it only worked on monsters immune to physical attacks, not on corporeal ones like the assassin bears. Masato explained that his very intelligent staff had enhanced the buff to affect all his targets, and he, concerned, considered this idea wild. And doubt arose whether Masato could become a blacksmith. Masato doubted, as few ventured so deep into the dungeon, so his swords did not sell. Then an item dropped from the assassin bears. Schrodinger's case for cards. Upon opening, it revealed 100 identical cards. The case never contained mixed types of cards, and after opening, the contents remained unchanged. Masato became interested in the cards inside. There was a 5% chance for a valuable Weaver and Circulation card, and a 1% chance for a Dubbing card, which could enhance his items and eliminate the need for leveling up. This would allow him to increase the number of existing accelerators without additional effort. I fear greed might help with this, but I doubt it will be that simple. She said that the type of card was random, and when there were 5 options, Masato had a small chance of getting the desired card. Masato agreed with. But remember the skill that can increase his chances, a skill based on RNG. It was something that gacha players wished for to get their favorite characters in the game. Marvel, I worry whether unusual skills can come in handy. Masato activated it. And instantly cards appeared before him, allowing him to choose from all the options, the one he liked. He was looking for only one card and chose it. The trick worked perfectly. It gave a duplicate card, meaning all the others in the case were also duplicate cards. Himewari was skeptical, considering it just luck, even for Masato. Then he targeted the wavered circulation card. When the next case was opened, it contained 100 waver circulation cards. Himewari apologized to Masato for doubting his abilities. Masato admitted that the result was very unlikely, with only a 0.5% probability. I know he began to believe that Masato's unusual mastery worked. Masato decided to turn the rest of the cases into duplicate cards, and I am worried and a bit greedy, because this could enhance any powerful growth accelerators. She noted that they had not yet found any growth accelerators. Masato remained optimistic and hoped that such would appear on the next levels. The group reached the 161st level. Soon Masato came across a monster, the embodiment of a servant, a huge eastern dragon hovering above the floor, and was stunned. He remembered that dragons in this world were usually good, so he did not want to attack creatures resembling dragons, and he felt relieved to see that this dragon was different. Without hesitation, Masato cut the dragon, confident of an easy victory. The creature died, the item dropped immediately, and Masato rejoiced, having found what he had seen. A Ranka growth accelerator, which gave 10 years of growth per acre. The duration of the effect could be changed by dilution, and it had no cooldown period. Masato was satisfied with its power, but a little disappointed due to the limited range of action. He realized that Masato's sphere was very wide. However, the absence of a cooldown made it valuable, and I was concerned because it was said that it might also help the world tree. Suddenly, a huge claw appeared above them. They quickly dodged. Masato turned and saw another eastern dragon. He wondered if it was the same type, but felt that it was stronger. Jumping, he pushed off the ceiling and rushed down, cutting the dragon into pieces, as expected, killing it with one blow. Another object fell on Masato. Judging by the shape, he thought it was another growth accelerator. This caused a year of growth on 400 hectares with regulated Andalusian growth. The unbred form had a 7-day recovery period. Masato was pleased because his coverage was 8 times larger than the floating island, and at this rate, most of his harvest could be collected at once if the process was accelerated by a year. Equipped with both growth accelerators, Masato could quickly prepare his fields and the world tree. He decided to return to the surface. I asked excitedly if he had finished grinding. Masato said he already had cards for dubbing. Returning to the surface, he quietly said goodbye to Masato and went home. Interested, Masato looked over his staff. That, as usual, we were extremely tall and grew again during his flight home. He asked the dry advertisement to slightly adjust his intelligence level. On the floating island, the dryads took turns speaking with the sprouting world tree. Then Masato realized he was not sure how the world tree would grow. He allocated a radius of 5 meters around it and doubted if that would be enough. Masato communicated with his mother telepathically. With the help of a dryad, she informed that the diameter of the tree, along with the roots, would be from 30 to 36 meters, and was surprised by Masato's concern because the world tree had not yet grown far. Masato explained that he had a powerful growth accelerator and planned to make the tree grow and the fruits ripen on the same day. His mother was stunned by Masato's unconventional approach to farming. Masato ordered the dryads to cover the island with rain clouds containing the growth accelerator, and to spare the world tree, the clouds formed a ring and covered the island except for the spot for the seedling. When it rained, Masato watched as the plants grew rapidly, and the onions were immediately ready for harvest. He ordered the dryads to stop the rain over that area and let it fall in other places. Masato and the dryads tended the plants together. After they finished, Masato thanked everyone for their efforts. In one day they harvested a huge crop. Masato reviewed the results. 52 2 tons of wheat, 8 tons of soy, 322 tons of carrots, 336 tons of potatoes, 456 tons of onions, 176 tons of burdock, and 704 tons of taro. Amazed by the abundance, he asked the dryads to wait with summoning the restorative rain over the wilting crops and to avoid the world tree, and the dryads assured him that there was no need to worry. They explained that the world tree is unique and even thrives in the rain with thrive. To demonstrate this, they began watering it with rain. Frightened, Masato asked them to stop and took out his magical computer from storage, barely noticing it. Using the built-in Wikipedia, he searched for information and felt that it was familiar to him. He entered terms such as world tree and regenerative ring cloud. The results showed that a small amount of regenerative rain extracts nutrients from the surrounding areas and helps the world tree become stronger. That is, it strengthens it. It is similar to muscle training. Masato noticed that the seedling looked healthier than usual. Soon the dryads confirmed that their task was completed. Masato thought about applying a growth accelerator to the tree, but they allowed one of the dryads to rest if she got tired, remembering her hard work. The dryads insisted that they were fine and asked Masato to entrust them with this task. Masato joined them, and together they joyfully watered the sapling of the world tree with rain. Instantly, the sapling stretches upward. Its branches and leaves almost completely cover the entire island. Masato was worried that it might overshadow smaller plants, but he noticed that from below the leaves of the world tree glow red, and realized that this red light is perfectly suited for absorption by green leaves. Showing the harmony of the tree with other plants, suddenly, a beam of light burst from the world tree. The dryads noticed it. They danced, celebrating their success. The world tree was already bearing ripe fruit. Masato wondered how these fruits would affect his life in this new world. The dryads joyfully gathered the ripe fruits from the world tree, reminding each other to take only one. Masato recalled hearing that the fruits of the world tree might connect to the spirit world, but he was not sure if it was true. He approached dryly and offered him a fruit, said that it was thanks to his help in caring for the world tree. Masato gratefully took the fruit, then everyone sat down to eat. Masato said that the fruit was smooth and tasty, similar to avocado. He tried it with soy sauce, and the flawless taste moved him to tears. Then he noticed a sphere behind him, the dryads shone as if transforming. 12 became cells, acquisition of advanced skills for growing better crops and create new plant varieties. 14 others changed differently and acquired special skills in animal husbandry. The rapid changes around Masato made it difficult to perceive everything at once. Suddenly, Masato understood what the fruit meant, which allows reaching the summit. The system informed him of stunning news. It was announced that by decree of his own nation, he is now the leader of their country. He was also ordered to use the imperial elixir from his inventory. At that moment, Masato realized he had become the head of the nation. He remembered that the elixir grants immortality as long as he rules justly, but it stops working under cruel rule, so realizing the consequences, he decided to keep it with himself for now. However, Masato became more interested in the new abilities of his self when he observed them. They just looked back in response and then started yawning. One by one, they showed restlessness and settled on the branches of trees, and Masato, impressed by the general bird goodnight farewell, dozed off. The system recorded that they switched to NAT mode. Masato smiled, allowing them to rest, appreciating their hard work and wishing for them to regain strength. After some time, he climbed down from the tree and thought about what to do next. Some inner part suddenly told him to stop. Surprised that she had woken up, Masato advised her to rest more if needed. However, Asad said that she was just curious. Masato called her to watch carefully, and extending his right hand, said that now it was his turn to give everything. A magical circle appeared on his palm, expanding and enveloping the entire floating island. The island trembled and began to expand. Nearby, the observer with dry eyes was stunned by the transformation. Masato said he wanted to create something. When the dry advertisement asked what, he simply answered vinegar and miso. He needed koji mold and lactic acid bacteria for his production. The yeast would naturally stick to wheat from the air during fermentation. He knew that relying solely on acetic acid bacteria would not yield stable results. Here you tell a tale about beneficial bacteria and Honidian dough that can be obtained by cutting them. He also considered genetically modified honey that becomes super sweet to gather enough bacteria. He was going to use a certain chemical to speed up the process. Then he would build the necessary containers on a remote floating island. Noticing that Masato was making more bottles, was surprised. Masato explained that he was making not only miso and vinegar. He came up with another promising idea. Later, he and his self climbed to the factory roof, using his special architectural skill. Masato added more floors to the building. New machines appeared, unfamiliar to him. Enthralled, she thought that he had prepared miso and vinegar from them. Masato advised her to research slowly, because covering that large space would take time. The fifth floor was designated for the production of defective products. Masato wondered if the people of this world would start widely consuming miso. For now, he decided to prepare a small portion for himself. He mixed 2 kilograms of salt, 5 kilograms of soy, 5 kilograms of wheat, and the required amount of cagium old. He first soaked the soybeans in water, then boiled them for an hour and a half. Then mixed with other components. That evening at Masato Himawari's house, she woke up from a nap and saw Masato cooking. He told her to wait for the dish. When he finally created what he truly wanted, I was cautious and thought he had come up with some clever idea again, so I asked myself what he was preparing for this special occasion. Masato said he was preparing a dish from all the vegetables they had gathered. He started by soaking thin slices of burdock root in water with vinegar. Masato carefully boiled the taro root to soften its rich flavor. He put the tougher vegetables into a pot of water. When the onion becomes soft, he adds miso and heats the mixture without bringing it to a boil. Masato announced that he had finished cooking the potato mochi and miso soup and served them with a glass of beer. Himawari noted that the dish looked delicious. Everyone gathered to eat and gave thanks. Masato encouraged the girls to use chopsticks, as was customary for such dishes. The girls took the potato mochi, their faces shining with pleasure from the taste. Masato noticed that the combination of sweet and spicy with a chewy texture was perfect. Il agreed, then they tasted the miso soup. As soon as Masato swallowed, he was pierced by a jolt, and a powerful sensation passed inside, evoking the map of Japan and Mount Fuji in his imagination. He deeply recalled the taste of his homeland. Himawari was surprised that the spices could so vividly enhance the flavor of the ingredients. Il was amazed that the vegetables he grew were so tasty. Masato felt joy seeing everyone enjoying the dish. But as a Japanese, miso soup caused a desire to eat rice. Suddenly, he had the idea that the ability of celts to enhance plant growth could help him grow exceptional rice. He began to imagine how he would fulfill his dream and grow the best rice. During lunch, I noticed that he suddenly realized this. She turned around and asked who this I was. Masato joked that she noticed it very late. The next day, Masato and his silt rode on Himawari, who had turned into a dragon. Himawari praised his new power, noticing that this allowed them to quickly reach their destination. For a moment, Masato felt as if he were in a jet plane. The group set out to search for a unique plant. They were looking for the same variety of rice to grow it, and then enjoyed delicious rice. The search led them deep into the tropical jungles. When he arrived, Masato showed the girls an image of the race. They encountered several traps along the way, but also had peaceful moments while watching. After work, I realized that he noticed something and went to check. She called Masato. Seeing this, he felt that it was familiar. Thanks to his ability to assess, he identified it as risa. It was a grass that produced edible starchy grains, exactly what they needed. Masato confirmed that this is the scientific name of rice, and all the details matched. A worried person asked if this was the right plant, and Masato confirmed that it was perfect and urged everyone to gather more. He explained that with their new capabilities in plant breeding, they could turn it into a tasty crop. Dijirali rejoiced and rushed to gather it before Masato could finish. After a minute, I noticed that he returned with a huge package and asked if this would be enough, and Masato assured her that it was quite sufficient. Later, on the floating island, he planted rice on a small plot, filling the water with a growth stimulator and magic. Himawari was surprised because he grew rice the old way and was not sure if he needed their rain or other help, and Masato explained that this was only the first step. He wanted to try rice before improving it by selection. Then he used his advanced architect skills and completed a 7-story extension at the factory. Masato turned the new floor into a place for thrashing and polishing rice, processed the first batch of the harvest there, then cooked the rice and prepared 3 bowls so they could eat together. He noticed that the grains seemed small, said he was worried, expressed admiration that Masato grew rice, and predicted himself that it would be tasty. Masato hoped for this and took a bite. The girls also tried, but soon the table became sad. Masato admitted that it would only pass. Himawari agreed, saying it was barely edible, and she cried, describing it as dry and crumbly, like eating weeds. However, Masato said that now he understood what to do next. Himawari doubted that the rice could become tasty, but Masato insisted that it was possible. He then involved silk producers to help modify the rice so that after cooking the grains would be bigger, rounder, and softer. Silence fell in the room. I grabbed my head. She is embarrassed, asks what Masato meant and how to act next, and realizes that she is confused. Masato explained that to achieve fluffiness, it is necessary to reduce the amount of amylose and increase the amylopectin. The cell felt overloaded and said that it preferred studying the periodic table. Masato was stunned by her mention of base sequences. He fell to the floor and scared everyone. He wanted to give up because manipulating base sequences was too difficult for him. He could not just change DNA components like that. The dream of tasty rice now seemed like a distant fantasy. I noticed was clearly concerned and asked if he was okay. Masato said he hadn't felt anxiety since working at the corporation. When he sat for hours in front of the computer screen, recalling those times, he thought about his old work laptop. And suddenly an idea appeared. He pulled out the supercomputer, hoping it would handle the problem. When he started it, he saw an app with a DNA symbol, and the system opened a genome editor with instructions to hold a living creature, scan it in front of the camera, and press enter. Masato lifted a blade of grass, and to his surprise, its basic sequence appeared on the screen. Gamewary was stunned and did not suspect that the tool had such capabilities. Sylph asked what to do next. Masato turned to the manual and learned that it was possible to change the traits of the scanned organism. They discovered that they could change parameters such as size, color, and composition. I worried, impatiently suggested making the rice green and the size Nalan, but Masato rejected this, saying it would be hard to cook that way. But a slightly larger size can open up new possibilities. Next, he focused on regulating the stickiness and elasticity of the rice, for which he needed to change the starch level. He examined the rice and found that it contained 70% starch, with an amylose to amylopectin ratio of 95% to 5%. Since this resembled Japanese rice, he considered it promising, and I became worried and asked why the ratio mattered. Musato explained that amylose and amylopectin, both components of starch, affect the stickiness of rice, with more amylose making the rice less sticky and more amylopectin making it stickier after cooking. I am not worried about what to do with this ratio. Masato called it a good question. They decided to make several variants. Wari agreed and suggested trying each to choose the best for mass production. Masato asked to calm down, as their excitement was becoming excessive. Masato created 4 rice variants by adjusting the levels of amylose and amylopectin. Then he selected the file extension and date, as instructed by Silthead, after which the laptop began to glow and small light spheres appeared from it. Seeing the glowing spheres, Masato asked if they were nucleotide sequences. They were confident, she called her sisters, who began to indifferently eat the light hordes as snacks. Masato and Himawari were stunned to see them greedily devouring the worms. The leaders themselves asked if everyone understood, and everyone confirmed. Masato understood that they exchanged genetic data by absorbing light. Having prepared everything, Masato handed the rice seedlings to the silksome. He asked to redo the plants according to the 4 options he created on the laptop. Sults cast their magic on the rice, quickly finished the task, and Sato was ready. He thanked them and said that next, they only need to grow rice. Before landing, Masato used magic and transformed parts of the floating island. In a moment, some areas became flooded rice fields. At first I did not understand, but Masato explained that these were special fields for growing rice. With the help of magic, he changed the properties of the land and made the soil ideal for planting. Masato and the girls planted rice in the new rice fields. Then he called the Silps to create clouds familiar to them. Ill-summoned clouds with special magic that accelerated plant growth, and the rice immediately ripened for harvest. Masato was amazed because they reminded him of Japanese rice he remembered. Himawari noticed that the grains were larger and different from the previous ones. She eagerly prepared herself a bowl of rice to try the new flavor, and Masato warned that it was still too early, but shared her excitement. He hurried to the factory to process the rice, hoping for a good result. Later, he prepared all 4 types of rice. Masato was satisfied with the result. The rice met his expectations. The girls, who were eager to try, asked which one to start with. Masato tried the first option. Tasting it, he felt a wave of emotions. It was the flavor he had been searching for since he was reborn. Himawari enjoyed the Chuni's rice. Quietly chewing, she was surprised that it turned out so tasty. Masato noticed that the rice was significantly better than before. Although a bit too sticky, he suggested trying the option with a higher amount of amylose. I know he insisted that it was already quite tasty. I really wanted to try the other options. They began to try the rest of the types. All the self-proclaimed ones were tasty. I know, Anxiety asked Masato which he liked more. After some thought, he chose the option called Amilos 17. They praise its taste as worthy of the brand and compare it to Kashi Hikari rice. Hinori and Silt asked about Koshi Hikari, and Masato waved it off and said it didn't matter because they didn't know it. He asked her to transfer all the rice seedlings to Amilo 17 for mass cultivation, and she assured him she could handle it. Masato watched as she worked magic on the rice plants and admired the possibilities of breeding. As a former natural sciences student, he was thrilled by these prospects. He began imagining improvements for various crops, such as pest-resistant plants or onions that don't cause tears when cut, and these were innovations unavailable in his previous world. Suddenly, an amazing thought struck him, and he said it aloud. The frightened Jules asked what happened, and Masato explained that it had just come to his mind. Enhancing the luxurious ingredient, he recalled. He suggested improving Matsutek, a rare expensive mushroom valued for its strong aroma and rich taste. The fact that it couldn't be farmed made it rare. Masato said that selective breeding could provide a large quantity of Matsutakru, and Ivari realized that this would yield many delicious dishes. After the meal, the group went outside. I gladly noticed that such mushrooms grow in the mountains and decided to find them myself. Masato recalled that he went to those mountains to collect wild edible plants because he thought that among various vegetation there might be Matsutake. Noticing the girls' enthusiasm, he expected that we would find some. Instead, the girls set the dining table to eat again. Masato asked them to calm down and clean up first, noticing a tree nearby. He instinctively recognized it as a Japanese red pine. He examined the bark under a microscope and noticed layers of mycelium to take its threads, which grow only near such pines. Using alchemy, he made a swab and collected a small branch, explaining that with myceline and pinewood, he could grow an improved Matsutake, but for now asked the interested girls to clean the bowls. At home, Masato sat at his laptop and opened the genome editor. He uploaded the genetic data of Matsutake and studied the mechanisms of nutrient absorption. He saw checkboxes labeled saprophytic and mycorrhizal and explained to the confused girls that this indicates the mycelium of rare Matsutake. He noted that mushrooms are divided into two categories, saprophytic, which feed on rotting wood or leaves and can be cultivated, mycorrhizal, which attach to the living roots of trees to obtain nutrients and are not cultivated. Mycorrhizal mushrooms, such as Matsutake, are difficult to grow. Masato proposed turning Matsutake into a saprophytic species to simplify cultivation. I am worried because I realize this will allow mass cultivation of Matsutake. The sylphs asked Masato to entrust them with the rest. Masato applied the edited data, and the mules strengthened the mycelium. Then he transferred the improved mycelium to the most powerful greenhouse of the floating islands and used growth accelerators to speed up development. He also needed to divide the mycelium into spawn, which resembled pieces of wood. Himawari asked confusedly how wood helps mushrooms grow. Masato explained the role of the Japanese red pine branches. He planted it in the soil, applied growth accelerator, and blessed the rain clouds to instantly simulate 30 years of growth. Immediately, the branch turned into a tall, strong tree. Masato grew 7 more logs and placed them tightly together. He announced that the equipment for growing mushrooms was ready. Then they drilled holes in the logs and inserted the mycelium and arranged the logs in a certain shape. He called this assembly a centipede. Finally, they summoned rain with growth accelerators, which caused instant mushroom growth. The mycelium turned into mushrooms, which grew one by one from the logs, and I knew that I was impressed by the sulfur beam among this large number of mushrooms. Masato ordered them to immediately start harvesting, and after the harvest, he asked to summon rain again. After 2 harvest cycles, which gathered a significant amount of maths to take mushrooms for Hemwari, it resembled a buffet. They counted 276 mushrooms. Masato considered this enough for everyone. He thanked the girls for their help. Ils, happily awaiting dinner, heard from Masato that he had to wait for the food. He chose a simple charcoal grill and used his super alchemy skill to craft the grill. He produced pure charcoal and beer. Masato demonstrated that by using carbon wittist, he extracts only alcohol from the beer by his own efforts. He then lit the grill with fire magic. Preparation of the mats that you take. He used cleansing magic to remove dirt and trim the tough base of the stem. He cut the mushroom cap, sliced it in half, lightly scored the top, and sprinkled salt. While he was interrogating, he suddenly used barrier magic. I know it surprised him. He asked why. A 5-layer barrier hovered over the mushrooms during cooking. Himawari said that only Masada could cook with such magic. Masada doubted if it was true, but she was captivated by the mushrooms oozing juice. In a few minutes they were ready, and even I saw how appetizing they looked. I know he asked to eat. But Masato advised to wait and explained how to best savor them. He showed how to tear the mushroom along the previous cut and eat it. Inhaling the steam, he considered it incredible. After biting, his eyes widened. The texture and taste almost brought him to tears of joy. I was alarmed by his slow eating. She doubted whether it was really that tasty. After tasting it, she immediately said it was extraordinarily delicious, and she herself could barely describe the flavor. Masato suggested frying 10 more mushrooms and serving them with beer for dinner, and everyone was happy, their voices echoing outside. The next day, Masato returned to the floating island to grow rice again. Sleepy and homesick, he grumbled about early work in the rice fields. The restless eye muttered nonsense. Masato thanked them for joining us. He explained that he wanted to properly grow a Milast 17 rice. To have enough seeds, he needed more seed tubers. He noted that a large rice harvest would allow cooking more rice dishes. The girls immediately became alert and got rid of their restlessness. Silt passionately promised to do everything possible. Surprised by their energy, Masato supervised the generous harvest. At the factory, he poured rice into the thresher. It counted 6,003 grains, enough for about 1,500 plants, and Masato noticed they still needed more rice seeds. He told the girls who used this plot as a base to grow additional seedlings and increase the harvest. On the floating island, he imposed an anti-physical barrier to form a large box on the fields. He designated this place for growing rice seeds and applied water magic, filling it with water at 10 degrees Celsius mixed with powder. After 10 days, he raised the water temperature to 30 degrees and waited 12 hours for marine germination. I was worried, so I asked if they would plant in the usual place, but Masato said it would be different this time. He prepared another field, filling it with specially treated soil for growing rice. They sowed the seeds, and thanks to a blessed rain with a small dose of growth stimulator, the rice grew to 15 centimeters. Masato asked the sulfs to dig up the seedlings, tie them in groups of 4, and transplant them into the rice fields. Masato's and his skills combined harmoniously. After planting, a blessed rain appeared by itself, which combined with the growth stimulator, the rice ripened and was harvested. And the process repeated twice before thrashing at the factory. Masato counted over 960 million grains. Enough to sow 1,600 hectares. He said the seeds were sufficient. The next harvest will provide food. He honked to cheer up the girls. Masato suddenly asked if they were tired. They insisted they could continue. He acknowledged their endurance, but warned them not to overexert themselves. The next day he returned and announced that it was the last day for planting rice. He activated a huge magic circle. Instantly transforming most of the fields into rice paddies, he rallied everyone to give their all. They planted, and within minutes the rice was already ready for harvest. Surveying the fields, Masato praised them for their hard work, but noted that a huge job of harvesting lay ahead. This dress inspired an idea. He quietly left and anxiously called him to follow. Focused Masato did not respond. He raised his hand, activated his special skill, Great Architecture, and instantly created a building. Inside, the remains of a girl with their unique structure pointed to his goal. Masada, using his ability to manipulate spacetime, discovered that it was a factory for manufacturing vehicles. He either impressed him or disturbed him when the machine was quickly assembling. In just a few minutes, the combine harvester was ready. I inquired about it, and Masato explained that it was an Iquit machine for self-harvesting rice. The combine moved independently across the field. The girls looked at it puzzled. The next morning, Masato was sleeping soundly until Himawari woke him up. He asked what was happening. I am worried. Her mother wanted to visit her. Masato did not mind but was interested in her sudden interest. Himawari explained that her mother missed his dishes, still remembering that special dinner, and wanted to taste it again. The warrior wanted to immediately inform her mother. Masato asked her to wait. Through the windowsill, he contacted the warrior's mother. He decided to send her something because she was planning to come. He and Vari's mother were initially puzzled. Then Masato cast enhancement magic through Silpi to her. She was surprised by the sudden surge of strength. Masato explained that it was related to the last 4 hours and 30 minutes. She was touched by his care. Masato downplayed it and said it was no problem. Immediately, Himawari's mother informed that she would come. After the call, when Sato said it was time to prepare, I asked excitedly what he would cook. Misada replied that with their generous ingredients, they could make a lot. When her mother arrived, the appetizing smell of food enticed her. Misada noticed that she came at the perfect moment and served rice with matsutake and a dish fried in miso mayonnaise. Hanawari was surprised by the unfamiliar dish. They gathered around the table and gave thanks. Masato tasted his creation and was glad that mise mayo enhanced the pure sweetness. I was cautious but found this flavor something you get used to, and her mother agreed. Masato was happy that they liked his food. Then he insisted they try the rice with matsutake, which in his opinion was made perfectly. Himawari praised how the aroma of mushrooms and soy sauce soaked into the rice. Her mother was equally impressed. I carefully explained that Masato devotedly chooses the best ingredients and perfects the taste. Her mother, seeing his effort. They listened as Himawari praised Masato's talents and continued eating. After the meal, I was worried. She said that she tried such dishes for the first time and they were very tasty. Her mother recalled that in the human world elite chefs were called royal chefs. She suggested Masato take care of it, but he politely refused. He might be worried that his mother was embarrassed because his culinary skills were not noticed. Masato said he would be satisfied if Japanese cuisine became popular here and more people could try it. To have as many people as possible taste his dishes, he thought he needed real chef skills. He hoped someone would help him do this. Meanwhile, at the neighboring market, the sellers noticed a girl who was wandering. One remarked she could not give up her chef dream. He pitied her. If not for that past failure, she would be a professional now. This girl lost her left hand, and it destroyed her dreams. The next day after lunch with his mother, Himawari Masato went to the guild to sell his harvest. In the guild's warehouse, an old appraiser was waiting. Carol heard that Masato had brought new harvests and spices. Masato confirmed that he stored them in magical cards. The plants appeared one after another. First, carrots rich in ultra-beta-carotene smoothed wrinkles. Next, special bulbs enhanced immunity, fought bacteria and viruses, and neutralized poisons and curses. Tranquility yams meant anger, anxiety, and stress. Holy burdock helped digestion and fat burning for weight loss. Masato also showed tarot cards that temporarily increased all stats by 10 and enhanced physical and magical power. Finally, his rice wine eliminated purines and caused safe farting, which helps against gout. Masato presented vinegar that accelerated HP and MP recovery by 100 times. The old man was stunned because the harvest and spices seemed almost unbelievable. He especially doubted that tarot could increase stats. Masato downplayed the strength of the effects. Carol became interested in yam, which removed negative feelings. Masato Muse, a psychiatrist from his old world, would have been stunned. He also asked why the skill of evaluation gives yans and morkvas such strange names. Masato said he had more to share and offered them to try the food he had prepared. Carol was surprised why he bothered to cook for himself. Masato explained that in raw form, the ingredients would not show their quality. He wanted them to try the dish and evaluate whether it was suitable for sale. He served fried rice with matsutake and the dish amasabes. The old man, tasting the miso, was moved, noting that it was tasty and had anti-cancer properties. Carol praised the rice for its chewy texture and mushroom flavor. Seeing that they liked it, Masato decided to make more. Carol thanked him for the food, and the old man admired how Masato improved the harvest. He constantly called him the best farmer. Embarrassed, Masato asked him to stop. The old man continued to insist, stunned that Masato grew over 100 rare matsutake mushrooms from one log, challenging the limits of nature. Then Masato showed a large quantity of goods he was selling. Carol anxiously asked if he really intended to sell so much. The old man ordered Carol to ensure that all sales went through Cole. Carol promised to deliver everything after returning. Masato, recalling something, handed Carol over 70 movement cards and initially felt relieved. Carol tried to hold the cards spilling from her hands, and the old man warned that such things should not be taken lightly. Nervous, Carol promised to immediately inform the staff. Masato understood her haste but doubted it could be done so quickly. The old man mentioned Cole's magical tracker for finding things, and Masato asked if they knew where Cole was now. When Masato realized the guild needed to quickly get rid of excess items, he gave cards to facilitate this. Carol shares her excitement about updating sales. They promised to sell quickly and report the result. Masato thanked them. Before leaving, he said he was preparing the next batch of the harvest. The old man was pondering Masato's next bold idea. Carol shared his anticipation. Masato asked them to stay in touch because he had already chosen the next project. The next day, Masato and Himawari visited a new place. Masato thanked her for it, lighting him to the sugarcane fields. A worried man asked about his goal, and Masato replied that he wanted to create another seasoning.